南海问题的国际舆论场中，总有一些声音试图将中国维护自身领土主权的正当行动与世界和平的理念对立起来，仿佛中国在南海开展必要的活动就是在制造紧张，他们却对历史经纬与事实真相选择性的忽视。
Here comes your favorite question, Ronnie. Let's talk a little bit about the South China Sea, which is, for all intents and purposes, one of the flashpoints not only between China and its neighbors, but also in China, in Chinese-American relations. Now, you know what a lot of people find hard, not only in the West but also in China's neighborhood, is to square that rhetoric of China's peaceful rise with actions in the South China Sea. Land reclamations, building military bases on those artificial islands. How does that go together?
Very simple. First of all, Japan in 1945 has to give back all the territory that it has taken from its neighbors. Who did Japan give all those islands back to? Spratly and Paracel. Who to? China.
And that is the Chinese version of history.
No, that's not the Chinese version. That's historic facts. The United States 7th Fleet accompanied the Chinese, whatever navy that they had at the time. It is, you want the name of the captain of the British, of the American ships that sailed to protect the Chinese Navy? I can find it for you. It's historic fact. If you have a problem with facts, then end of discussion. The fact, I go to America a lot. In America, you talk to anybody who is in the know in Washington, D.C. They would know that those islands were all given back to China, escorted by the 7th Fleet Navy of the United States. Why? In the 50s, they negotiated with the North Korean. At that time, they were buddy-buddy, good friends. They gave some of the islands to the Vietnamese. The rest of it lie there for 70 years. Why did China not do anything for 60 years until now?
Why?
There's an island north of Taiwan. Only, I don't know how far it is, I forgot. Very close. It has been disputed. It's called the Diaoyu Island, or the Japanese call it the Senkaku Island. The Chinese call them the Diaoyu Island. In the Cairo Declaration, at the end of the Second World War, that island, together with the whole of the Ryukyu, were given back to China. Chiang Kai-shek, the leader of China at the time, were busy fighting Mao Zedong, the communist. So he said to the American, let's co-administer it. Then he lost a war to Mao Zedong. Do you think that America will give it to communist China? So America took it in 1972, if I get my dates right, gave all that to Japan. China contested, so they agreed to disagree. Diaoyu Island, let's leave it to the next generation, according to Deng Xiaoping. Let's leave it to the next generation to resolve it. For now, we'll agree to disagree. About 4 years ago, Japan announced unilaterally that they bought it from the owner of the island, the occupier of the island, whatever it is, they nationalized it. What did America say? Nothing. In fact, after the Japanese unilaterally took it, the Japanese foreign minister, the Australian foreign minister, and John Kerry at that time, the Secretary of State in the United States, the three of them had a press conference that says, we oppose any change to the status quo. What status quo? Before or after the Japanese unilaterally nationalized it? Of course it's after, because the press conference was held afterwards. So the United States cannot say that this thing belonged to Japan, because they know what it says in Cairo Declaration. And don't say that it's not fact. Just go back to the Cairo Declaration and read it. And so, Japan unilaterally took that island. So China did not dispute it, or they disputed it, but there's nothing they can do. Have you ever come across your mind that if you pick on a big guy, you pick on a guy like me, there's not much consequences. I'm a small guy. If I'm a big guy like that young man did, there's consequences. And China is a big guy. You take that island from China unilaterally, and America said nothing about it. So the Chinese said, okay, you do this, I do that. You react one way, you act one way, I react another way.
And Ronnie, just because China is such a big guy, wouldn't it be a responsible behavior for a country, a global country such as China is, to build trust rather than to sort of pour even more gasoline into the fire in a region which is, even without these tensions, already quite tense?
Pardon my language. You expect a big guy to lie down and say, rape me?
I would expect a big guy to try and build confidence.
Why do they need to build confidence? Just because you blackmail them and take their bedroom? Or steal whatever from them? And they say, oh, I build trust. You can take anything you want from me. Come to my house, take whatever you want. I am here to build trust. Which country would do that? Why do you expect that of China?
But other countries would consider legitimate claims from the neighbors for the situation is not as clear as you might see or interpret it.
Do you know that in the 1960s, there was a German radio station that wrote to Manila and said, can I build a broadcasting station on this island? And Manila wrote back and said, we don't own it. Now Manila claims that they own that island. In the 1970s, you check history. Before 1970s, none of those nations in the South China Sea surrounding claim any of that stuff. It is in the 70s when China was undergoing the Cultural Revolution. China was weak, China was in trouble. The pack of hyenas all come up, and there was oil discovered. There's a lot of natural resources, fishery and so forth. Mm-hmm. Suddenly everyone want to claim. But why did the United States 7th Fleet escorted the Chinese Navy to take back all that island in 1945? You tell me, please. Why? Mm-hmm. They don't own it?
I can't tell you.
Then please consider it.
I think, yeah, we could perhaps speak another hour about the South China Sea. You
By
have
the way,
a very
in America,
explicit.
Here comes your favorite question, Ronnie. Let's talk a little bit about the South China Sea, which is, for all intents and purposes, one of the flashpoints, not only between China and its neighbors, but also in China, in Chinese-American relations.
其实这段视频采访是发生在7年前的，但是最近外网非常的火爆。在这段采访中，陈启宗对着外国记者关于南海问题的尖锐提问，正是通过摆出历史事实、戳破双重标准、还原事件本质的方式，当试图混淆是非的这些提问者陷入逻辑困境，无从辩驳。这背后所展现的，恰恰是中国在南海问题上一以贯之的立场。热爱和平也并不是无底线的去妥协，不是中国的东西，即便再诱惑人，中国也绝对不会强取豪夺。但本身它就是属于中国的，一分一毫都不能少。被非法侵占的权益，最终有一天将要回归。